Hello, my good friends, especially children of India and children of all countries around the world. I'm very happy to greet all of you, especially the company of my granddaughter. She has a concern for children, and therefore I thought we'll have a conversation between us. Hopefully that will be of some use to children all over the world. Now, I would first request my granddaughter to introduce herself to you.
Hello, my name is Ria. I live and study in another city. I came here because school is closed for the summer, and I love spending time with my grandparents.
Now, Ria spends most of her time in Trivandrum. She stays with me in the following manner. She attends a summer school. Then she plays a little bit whenever it is possible to do so. These days it's very hot, as you know, so outdoor games are not quite easy. But she has a little bit of exercise. But most of the time, I'm glad to say, she loves to read. Now, I would like her to explain to all of you why she loves reading and why she would recommend reading to other children, especially during the summer vacation when children have a lot of time to spend that they do not know really how to spend that time.
So I love reading because each book has its own world, and you can also understand a lot of styles. You can improve your vocabulary, and you can also improve your sense of language.
Now, people say that the best way to learn is directly from experience. So how does that compare with learning things via books?
We all know that we can learn a lot of things with experience, but some things we cannot experience.
Oh, you're right.
Some things you cannot learn with experience.
Yes.
Books help us see those things.
Yeah. Can you give us an example so that the children who listen to you may understand it better?
Yes, there was a girl called Pearl S. Buck. She grew to become
Pearl S. Buck. Okay. Who is Pearl S. Buck? Tell.
She grew up to be a very good novelist.
Yes.
In the early days of her childhood.
Where did she grow up?
She grew up in America. And her parents were American missionaries in China.
That's it. Yes.
When they were not at home most of the time. So one day when she was 5 years old, she accidentally came upon one work of Dickens. And she loved the book. She got so absorbed in it that she read all the words of Dickens. And she grew up to be a great novelist.
Yeah.
Her most famous novel is The Good Earth, which I hope to read very soon.
Oh, that's very good. It's a very fascinating book. It deals with life in China. And in fact, that's the book that really kindled my interest in China. So I'm glad that you want to read it, and I look forward to reading the novel with you. Now, you see, it is widely believed that children of your age group would be more interested in seeing cartoons on television rather than reading books. So what is your experience and what would you recommend to children?
It's not like I don't watch. I watch a little bit, but I also play. But we should also learn, So education is a good thing, and I hope because children are in their homes most of the time because it's so hot outside, they can read. They can spend their time wisely. I'm usually sitting and reading a book. I'm currently reading a book by Dickens called Oliver Twist.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that Dickens has a sense of humor. I also know that each author has his or her own style of writing, and that's what I really enjoy about these books.
Yes. Now, what do you think is the problem if children sit and watch cartoon all the time? Why read and why not limit yourself to seeing cartoons all the time?
If we see cartoons, we cannot grow. As my grandfather always used, as Apacha used to tell, reading is always the best habit. And also there's a truism saying, old habits die hard.
That's right.
So
you form bad habits.
Yes.
What sort of idea about the world do you gather from cartoons?
We gather a false reality of the human
very
life.
good. Yeah, false reality. Okay. Or a false idea of reality.
Yeah.
Can you give an example?
If a truck hits a cartoon figure and he's rolled out like a piece of dough on the floor,
Yes.
he'll be up in like
You can
5
see that
seconds.
person lying flat on the ground, right?
And he'll be up in 5 seconds.
That's right. Okay, as though he is made of latex.
Yeah.
Right? Now that certainly is not the reality.
No.
And it doesn't help to grow up with that sense of false reality. Or
And
absolute-
also,
yeah.
that's not something to joke about in real life.
Right. Now you say that you're currently reading Oliver Twist
Yes.
by Charles Dickens. Tell us something more about your experience of reading Oliver Twist.
I've learned how children 200 years ago were living, and I'm sorry to say they lived a very, very hard life. People were very cruel to them. They were starved, especially orphans. And even though Dickens is ironical, he's ironical because there's so much suffering in his books. And that suffering especially happens to children.
Yes.
If I had not read this book,
Children of the poor.
Yeah.
Children of the poor, yes.
and if I had not read this book, I couldn't have time traveled back to that time and told you about it. Books are made for us to see the world in a different way.
Right. Now, you say that, 200 years ago,
Yeah.
in the English society, children were treated cruelly by everyone.
Yes.
But in Oliver Twist,
Yeah.
there's a character called Mr. Brownlow.
Yes.
What would you like to say about him and the way he treats Oliver?
Many people say they're bad people, but they are good people too.
Yeah.
So Brownlow is one good person. When Oliver collapsed in the court, Brownlow took him home, and with the assistance of his maid,
What's her name?
Miss Bedwin.
Miss Bedwin. Good.
She was a very kind lady. She helped Oliver to recover, and through his recovery, she was with him by his side.
Good. Do you remember anything about Mrs. Bedwin? She herself suffered a lot in her life. You remember?
Yes.
What does she say to Oliver about her own past life?
She said life was very cruel.
And she lost her husband,
Yes.
her children, etc. What exactly is that, if you remember?
I don't remember much, but she said life was very hard for her.
Yes,
Many people would die. She had even lost her children and her husband,
that's right.
and she had come
When
in
she was-
acquaintance.
When he died, her husband died when he was
26.
26 years old. So it's a world of suffering. At the same time, the remarkable thing about Dickens is that he is able to generate a lot of humor out of this
Yeah.
very, very world of suffering. Right?
That's his style of writing.
That's right.
He will always find a good side, and he won't mean things literally.
Yeah.
He will mean things ironically.
Yeah. And what would you like to say something about his style? What kind?
He uses either ironic humor
Ah.
or sardonic humor.
Yeah.
I can give you an example if you want. There was a time where Dodger and Fagin were in a fight,
Yeah.
and Fagin always used to have a toasting fork.
Tell the viewers who Fagin is.
Fagin, there were a group of boys who Oliver met on his trip to London. The most popular, Charlie Bates and the Dodger.
The Artful
Artful Dodger. He's also known as Jack Dawkins. Their patron is a Jew. His name is Fagin, and he also he keeps stolen goods like handkerchiefs, and he always trains the boys to do pickpocketing.
That's right. And he trains them as though pickpocketing is a high art.
Yeah.
It's a great
So-
accomplished.
So back to the example. So when the toasting fork was in his hand, the Artful Dodger took the fork and nearly pierced his side with it. This is Dickens' description. Even though the fork missed, if the fork had hit the target, it would have let a little more merriment out.
That's right.
That means he would have been crying.
Yes. Right. Okay. So that's right. So I think it's obvious that you're enjoying reading Dickens.
Yes.
And I hope that you will continue to read Dickens, because one of the best things that happened to me when I was young was that of course, I had to teach Dickens, and the very first novel I taught in St. Stephen's College Department of English way back in 1973 was this novel. Therefore, I was very keen that you should read it. I'm glad that you're enjoying reading it. But reading Dickens helped me in two ways. One is, three ways. One is that it really helped me improve my sense of English. I consider Dickens to be, among prose writers, the king of English language. The second thing is that it awakened a sense of humor in me, and that has stood me in great stead. The third thing that Dickens has done for me is the realization that we live in a world of suffering, and you said it yourself, but even in this world of suffering, which looks all gloom and doom, there are still sparks of goodness, and that we should be able to appreciate these possibilities also. But so that is Dickens, and you are still reading that. We have not finished it. But anyway, which is the other book that you have read in recent times?
I have read a book by James Redfield.
James Redfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has written a book called The Celestine Prophecy. It explains.
Do you remember in which year this was published?
1993?
Yes, correct. 1993. In fact, if our viewers are interested, this is a book not commonly read in India. The title of the book is The Celestine Prophecy. Author is James Redfield. The book was published in 1993, and you can actually download it from the net.
Actually, I'm reading all these books digital.
Yes.
And even though I have to scroll the mouse a few times, it's highly enjoyable.
That's right. Yeah, but let our viewers have some idea about this book, The Celestine Prophecy.
So, the Celestine Prophecy reveals to us how we can become better people through the mention of the manuscript. The manuscript is written in 9 series, and they each have a message for us.
The manuscript supposedly contains 9 insights. Right?
Yeah.
Insights.
And they each have a specific message for us. And the last one being how we elude. Why
don't you give our viewers some idea of some of the insights? Which are insights that you remember? Let's see how many of those insights you can recall. You don't have to remember everything, but a few of those insights.
I remember the first one. The first insight tells us that we were born and that we should become aware about consequences. Coincidences.
Right? Okay.
And that there's
what is a coincidence?
As Arthur Koestler once said.
Arthur Koestler is a very famous author of the 20th century, Hungarian in origin, but of course he traveled all over. He worked in Germany, worked in Spain. He was part of the Spanish War. He was arrested. He would have been killed there, but he escaped. Then he went to Russia. Then he went to Israel. Very interesting story. She's referring to Arthur Koestler, Koestler. Kostler.
As Arthur Koestler once said, a coincidence is two events held together by an unseen hand.
Oh, right, good. So a coincidence is two events held together by an unseen hand. Very good. Okay, so the first insight in this Celestine Prophecy book is that coincidences are significant and we should take them seriously.
Yes.
Proceed further.
The second insight tells us that we should always be aware of it because it's a long story. This third insight tells us that the universe is one pure energy. It also refers that if in that story that if you change your focus, you can see energy fields around things.
Yes.
And they change according to your mood.
So you should be able to derive energy from
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
The fourth insight tells us that if we depleted in our energy, so we steal energy, and that results in conflicts.
Why do we feel depleted in our energy?
Because we cannot grow.
Yeah, because most people are running after the things of the world, material things, therefore they become alienated from this, they don't develop it, and therefore they are short of.
Yes.
They're short of this energy.
Yeah.
Then what are we to do?
Now, the fifth insight tells us that there is a remedy to this. It's a way that you can gain energy without resulting in conflicts. You can take energy from a higher source, and that higher source is the universe. But it will only give you energy if you open up to it.
Right. Okay, it doesn't matter. You don't have to recount all the insights. But I think one of the important insights in that book is that if people don't develop their innate energy, then they try to steal it from others, which is the reason why conflicts arise between people. So that's not the way to solve the problem. The real solution to the problem lies in turning to a much larger source of energy, which is the universe itself, in which case all the social conflicts will disappear and people can live harmoniously together. What is that particular ethic? There's a name for this ethic.
The interpersonal ethic.
That harmonious?
Interpersonal work ethic.
Yeah, harmonious interpersonal ethic.
Work
no?
ethic.
Okay, very good. So some of these insights I hope are valuable, and perhaps you're a little too young to understand its various ramifications. Redfield actually draws his insights from history, from scriptures, from psychology, and all sorts of backgrounds. So it takes a little effort to understand much of what he's saying, but he narrates the whole thing in the form of a good story, gripping story. So where is the story set?
It's set in the capital of
Remember the name of the country?
Lima.
No, that's the capital.
Name of the it's the capital of Peru.
Peru. The country is Peru, capital is Lima.
Lima.
Okay, right. So this is the first book that you read here. Now you're on to the second. I hope you continue to, when you go back and start your school again, you'll certainly be more preoccupied with your schoolwork. But during the summer vacation, children have a lot of time, and our aim is to motivate children to value their time and to use it properly, because the time that's well spent now is the best investment we can make into leading a happy life later. Okay, so I think that's very good, and I'm sure that our viewers would be encouraged, particularly the children. Our concern is children. The children who listen to you would be encouraged to improve their reading habits, and may all children who listen to you be blessed through this encouraging exposure. And the main thing is that we should not, I have something to say to parents. Parents should not underestimate children. Because very often the adult world has rather unhelpful notions or presuppositions about children. Oh, they are children, they cannot read this kind of book.
Oh
They are
yeah,
very limited.
sometimes
Yeah.
I was reading a book called Understanding Human Nature.
Ah, that's right. Who
And-
is that by?
I forgot.
Alfred
Adler.
Adler.
And he had a really complicated way.
Yes.
So I didn't understand anything. I felt it was very hard. Then Up just sat and he explained every sentence to me. So the best thing adults can do is to sit and explain to children if they don't understand what they are reading.
Yeah. Parents should participate in the learning process of the children and help them develop a solid habit of reading, right? So
And you
that's-
should always read only if you understand it.
Yes.
Otherwise you can't get into the story.
Yes. At the same time, if we read only what we can understand, then we stay stuck. So we should gradually increase the degree of difficulty in reading so that we can go forward, improve ourselves, right? So I think we'll end it there. I want to thank you on behalf of our viewers for sharing your experiences. And once again, I repeat, may young children all over the world be encouraged to read more, read better, and may parents and elders in homes find time to participate in this very wonderful sacred process of helping children form sturdy reading habits. Thank you very much and all the very best.